Welcome back, everyone. Spring and summer is a time for new growth and taking bold action together. So we hope these stories can inspire you to live boldly, take wise chances, and with our friends and family, make a difference together. Today we will be reading A Journey to the Center of the Earth by Jules Verne, retold by Billy Aronson. So as we lean in with the spirit of adventure, grab a friend, like Jade here, and let's enjoy the story together. Chapter 12, The Central Sea. I awoke to find myself lying on a pile of soft blankets. My uncle watched me, tears in his eyes. As my eyes opened, he grabbed my hand and cried, "For joy, you're alive!" "Yes, I'm alive, Uncle," I whispered. "My dear boy," he continued, hugging me, "you're saved!" Hans was excited too. "Good dog," he said. "Good day to you too, Hans," I whispered slowly. "So, Uncle, tell me where we are and what day it is." "It's Sunday night," he replied. "Your terrible ordeal lasted 4 days. But as we are, and how you got here, we'll discuss it tomorrow. You're too weak now. Your forehead is covered with bandages. Sleep." The next morning I awoke, or thought I did. The things I saw and heard were so surprising, I felt sure I was dreaming. Below me, the silvery sand on which I lay glittered. The floor was decorated with stalagmites, long fingers of rock that reached up towards the roof of the cave. The stalagmites glittered too in all the colors of the rainbow. But what light caused the glittering? No torch or lamp was anywhere to be seen. Even more strange was the sound I heard, a faint murmur. It sounded almost like waves rushing upon a seashore. I also seemed to hear the sigh of wind. Yes, it had to be a dream, but as time passed, the sounds and sights didn't go away. Had my uncle changed his mind and taken us back to the surface of the earth? Or had a path taken a strange turn and led us back up? Had our journey suddenly ended? "Good morning, Axel," my uncle chirped. "You're looking much better." While I devoured my breakfast, my uncle explained what had happened. When I plunged straight down that dark shaft, my body shook loose a huge boulder. The boulder knocked me unconscious, but it also saved my life. I rode the boulder down the shaft as though it were a flying chariot, and when I landed, I was found by my uncle and Hans. "It's a miracle you weren't killed," my uncle concluded. "From now on, let's all stick together." "Tell me, Uncle," I begged, "are my arms and legs all working?" "I'm sure they are," he answered. "And my head?" I asked nervously. "It's right where it should be," he replied. "Except for a couple of bruises, it's just fine." I like how we don't check. We don't do any medical checks. We've got medical supplies, but you're probably fine. But let's not check it out. Okay, got it. But I'm afraid it's not fine, I said. "I'm afraid that I'm hallucinating because I think I see daylight and hear wind and waves rushing upon the shore." My uncle smiled. "I repeat, Axel," he said, "you're fine. It's the science of geology that is in trouble." "Why is it in trouble?" "Because there are important facts about the makeup of the earth that geologists do not know, although all that will change upon our return." What was he talking about? I begged him to explain. Instead of speaking, he simply pointed. At first I couldn't see anything. It was too bright. I had to cover my eyes. But as my eyes adjusted to the brightness, I was baffled. I rubbed them and looked again. "The sea!" I yelled. "Yes," my uncle said proudly, "the Central Sea. In ancient times, people called the sea between Europe, Africa, and the Middle East the Mediterranean. They chose that name because Mediterranean means middle of the world. They thought the region was all there was in the world, so the Mediterranean was the sea in the middle of the world. But I've discovered the sea that really does lie in the middle of the world. That's why I've named it the Central Sea." The body of water about which he spoke extended as far as my eyes could see. At the least, it was a very large lake, if not an actual sea. It certainly had waves like a sea. Where did the light come from? It wasn't sunlight. It had a duller quality. It didn't shine like sunlight. It glowed. This light was also different from sunlight in another way. It didn't seem to give off any warmth. As I watched the sky above the sea, I began to understand the source of this light. The roof of this great cavern above the sea was several miles high. Beneath it, thick clouds of gases swirled, constantly moving. The clouds crackled with sparks of electricity that caused them to glow. It was from these electrically charged clouds that the cold light poured. So the earth isn't really a solid ball, I thought. If this cavern is very large, it would be more correct to say the earth is hollow. How large was this cavern? I couldn't say. As I looked ahead on the horizon, the gaze of gases blocked my view, but it was far larger than any cave I'd heard about on earth. This was a world unto itself. My uncle could see that the thrill of the discovery restored my strength. He led me along the shore to see what we would find. Countless underground streams flowed into the sea. When we saw the place where the Hans River joined it, I felt sad. "When we cross the sea," my uncle said, "we'll be leaving our friendly river behind." Next, we came upon another sight that made me wonder if I was dreaming again. Before us stood a huge forest, but the trees weren't like any I'd ever seen. They were stiff, gray, and shaped like umbrellas. There was something familiar about that shape. I couldn't put my finger on it until my uncle coolly announced that they were mushrooms. He was right. It was a forest of 40-foot-high mushrooms. Since light couldn't get through their massive tops, the forest was very dark and cold. Beyond the mushrooms, we found even more amazing growths. Huge ferns as tall as pine trees. Blades of grass as tall as I. These plants are from a prehistoric period where giant plants thrive, my uncle explained. It is as though we're visiting a greenhouse where ancient plants have been carefully preserved, except this greenhouse is as cold as the rays that give it light. As thrilled as I was for a moment, I became nervous. Suppose animals appeared that were as large as the plants. I was distracted from this thought by my uncle's voice shouting, "Bones!" Indeed, the ground was littered with gigantic bones, some as thick as tree trunks. Did someone say giant bones? "This is the jawbone of a mastodon," I cried, as I recognized the jagged bone of that towering prehistoric elephant. My uncle identified the bones of a dozen other mighty ancient mammals that had lived and died on these shores. Scientists who study prehistoric bones are called paleontologists. They study bones to learn about creatures that lived long ago. As we walked, my uncle came up with a theory to explain these underground treasures. In certain ancient ages, he began, violent earthquakes were much more common than they are today. I believe that a large section of the earth opened up, an entire region of the earth and the animals that lived there sank through the opening to this depth. When the surface closed over their heads, you didn't want up here. They survived and thrived in their new underground home. Before this trip, if anyone had suggested such a theory, I would have thought him insane, but there we were, face to face with the evidence. In our hands, we held the remains of ancient animals. Above our heads were the tops of ancient plants, and roaring in the background were the waves of an underground sea. Seeing is believing. Reading is believing too, at least when Jules Verne had written this story. If this book had started out as an underground world with towering mushrooms and an indoor ocean, it wouldn't feel very believable. But by leading us here step by step and by making each step seem realistic, Verne has taken us to a land you see in your imagination. Neat trick, huh? That does it for chapter 12. We'll see you next time for chapter 13.